today I have Kirstyn. I am so excited to get to know her, and you guys get to meet my new friend, and she's amazing. She is an award winning corporate sales and marketing professional who's closed over $16 million in business to business contracts throughout her career. She's a certified leadership coach and the creator of Get Corporate Clients Now, a brand for successful small business owners ready to scale their businesses with corporate contracts. Welcome, Kirsten. I'm so glad that you're here with me today.
Hey, Jeanette, I'm super excited as well. Thank you so much for the bio and the welcome. I'm excited for our conversation.
Yes, I have lived in corporate, right? Like I did the corporate thing before I went online, and I worked in tech, right? And you were in tech sales, so we
Yeah.
vibed on that, which was really good to hear your side of the tech world.
Yeah.
But like when I think about selling things, especially as Christian entrepreneurs who I mostly help, like they're on their 250K mark, they're like doing those big things. I haven't really thought about helping them leverage corporate contracts into that. So,
Yeah.
how do you do that? How do you get corporate clients?
That is such a big question, but also a simple question, right? It's the same way that you work with individual clients. It's all about having a conversation. The reason that I even got into this work is because for me, it was second nature, like you and I talked about when we were on our initial conversation. I sold to organizations. That was the beginning of my career. That's all that I knew. And so having these conversations about needs that these organizations had and being able to sell my product or service into these organizations to me seemed very simple. And I think on the other side where entrepreneurs are trying to figure out how do they tap into this space, I think it's important to remember that it's the same way that you've built your business in the past. What did you do? You had a service or a product that was of value, you found a group of people that needed it, and you had conversations with them about how it can support them getting to the next level. The same thing happens with corporations. I think what we miss as entrepreneurs is that we think we can only do things in one way. It's the world of
Yeah.
niching down to this one particular person that I help and this one pretty solution that I do. But when I work with people, I help to kind of show them the 50-foot view of that. Like, what is it truly that you are great at? Not just putting it into a niche or a statement, but what is that skill or attribute that could easily translate over into corporations? Because when it comes down to it, they're businesses too. So the needs are very similar. It's just all about the way in which you speak about it and you package it. So, as a simple answer, and I know we'll dive into this in detail going forward, how you get corporate clients is understanding how your solution translates into their world and then having a conversation with them about how that can help them get to the next level.
I think that's so true, right? Like when I came out of the tech world, everybody I knew in the tech world was very A plus B equals C.
Yeah.
There was no marketing, there was no fluff, there was none of that. It was not like this sell them what they want and then give them what they need. No, I was like, this is what you need, this is what it is. Boom, here you go. And so, like, coming online, it was learning to speak that other language, but you're saying the same thing. It's just speaking a different dialect of the same language. It's like, okay, let me show you what I do. This is how I do it, and this is why you need it. Period. Dot. And just going from there. I love that because that might actually be simpler for me because I'm very A and B, right? Like I'm not like
Yes.
you need to do this so that way you can love life and blah blah blah. No, that's not
Yes.
how God created me. I wish because
Yes.
it'd be a lot easier on these entrepreneur streets, but no, like it's not how God created me. So
Yeah.
when you first came into entrepreneurship, what made you think about leveraging like your religion into that? Is that something that you're like overtly Christian with, or are you more of like covert Christian and just doing everything you do through God anyways because that's how you create he created you?
Yeah, so that's a good question. When I first started my business, I did not come into the space of, being overt, as you said, with my faith. And I talked to you about this. I've had the faith of, I grew up in church, I grew up in religion, but I did not know that there was a difference of having relationship with Jesus until literally like the last 2 years, going 2 or 3 years at this point. And so that was after I started my business that I recognized that. So in my mind, my religion, my beliefs, and all of those personal things were separate from my work. And you may can relate to this a little bit in terms of the corporate space. It's like when you show up to work, you're there to work. There is no like blending of your personal life, I mean, you still are a person, but oftentimes there's just this invisible barrier of like when you're at work, you're this, and then when you're at home, you're this. It's not that you're being, different or like you said, hiding anything. It's just the mindset is I'm just here to do this. So that
Yeah.
is how I showed up to entrepreneurship, ignorantly, creating a business and thinking that I had to show up the same way that I did in past corporate roles. So it was like, hey, this is business. Like I'm very much A to B. Here's what it is. You really don't need to know much about me, type of deal. But of course, that religious belief, the foundations, the principles, and all of that was translated because that's just the heart of who I am. And I can't, certain things I just cannot do because it just wouldn't feel good for me. So all of that was there, but it was not until, like I said, these last couple of years that I've built relationship that I actually saw how all of it can live together, and you don't have to choose or feel like, well, I don't need to let people into this because this is like for me, this is my thing, or with people that I know. But I recognize that even in business, in marketplace, as we call it, that there is an anointing, that there are ways that you
Hmm.
can flood heaven, that you can bring people to Christ, even if it's from a business standpoint. And I just didn't see that either. I was like, oh, if you're anointed, or if you're called to preach, that's how you bring people into the kingdom. But me doing business, I don't see that. And I began to see, like I said, how the intertwine happens, and how our purpose is not just to create a business, but there is a greater purpose to flood the kingdom. And with that
Hmm.
knowledge, then I started to blend, well, let me show people what I'm doing in my prayer life. Let's show people how, I'm doing different fast, or, what I'm praying on, or sharing my testimony, because that is the stuff that really ignites people versus just let me get on here and share the one, two, threes and ABCs. So it's an evolving journey of how it looks today, but it definitely did not start that way. I saw it as two different aspects.
Yeah, like I told you before, I came from the military world, and that's very you don't separation, right? And
Yeah.
so like coming into entrepreneurship and coming into relationship, I was like, oh, I'm actually just one person, and all of
Yeah.
this can actually live in one space. It almost felt like not that I was living a double life, but they were
Yeah.
very separated, and
Yeah.
like you didn't mix your friends, you didn't mix your. It was just like a whole bunch of things.
Right.
Um, there's a question I was going to ask you about what that looked like for you. It was about AI. So with AI, right? I feel like everybody can know as much as they want to know.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter. But when we're telling our stories, when we're sharing who we are, when we're sharing our values, I think that's what sets us apart from any other person out there, because we're sharing who we are as people also. And I know these things. And
Yeah.
this is what I'm specializing in. And this is how I help you. So with AI, are you scared of AI taking your job or taking anything like that? Or are you just like, it's part of tech and it's going to happen and I'm rolling with it?
Yeah, so I actually leverage AI a lot. And I told you when we talked, like, I'm not the super technical person. Like in tech, I was the sales and the marketing. I know like the personality stuff or connecting with people, I can do that, which is so, this was just a divine realization that I had just now. Even in that role, it was all about who you are versus the product, right? Salespeople are good, like they could sell anything because they have the personality and the ability to sell. It's not about the product. The product could be complete trash, which we don't want that to be. But I'm just saying the product could be complete trash, and a good salesperson could still position it as the best thing that a person could need for their solution, because it takes the skill and the ability. So when you ask the question about the AI, that it's the same story, right? Yeah, AI could tell you the one, two, threes, just like any product could, but nobody can make it come alive and make it come alive for you like the human touch. And so, even in that example of sales, that's why salespeople are so important, because a box is just a box without the story. And I think in the work that you and I do in transformation, same thing. Yes, you can get steps. You can go on and chat GPT how to get a contract. And I've actually seen people do it before, and they come back to me and they're like, wow, chat didn't give me half of what you did. because chat has never walked the streets beating clients in the bitter cold of the Northeast, as a early 20 something year old woman trying to figure out how am I going to go in here and speak to these veterans that's been doing this for 40 years and sell them a six-figure contract. There's a whole different mindset to be able to do that, that's beyond skills and tactics. So to answer your question, I am not afraid of AI taking my job at all because of that reason. And in
Yeah.
fact, I'm embracing AI to make me be able to do the things and, store the things that are in my brain and help me to do it faster. I use it and I'm like, hey, this is what I did for X, Y, and Z. And I go into this and da da da. Help me to put this into a framework that I can teach somebody. That's how I use it. I use it to be able to organize things, to be able to, assist me in creating what's already in my mind, my intellectual property, into something that can be of value to others. So I see it as a tool, I see it as support, but it could never capture the experience, right? And I think that
Right.
makes people, that allows people to go from just having information and knowing stuff to actually doing it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
From theory to like embodiment.
Yes.
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 So
Yes.
good. Yeah, I'm not afraid of AI either. Like I like you use it to help what I'm already doing to make things faster. I'll be like, hey, I need an automation for X, Y, and Z, and it'll help me like piece some things together. But I
Yes.
came up with the automation. I came up with my needs were. I came up with the use case, and
Yep.
it's just helping me think through the pieces a little bit differently, faster.
Yes. Because sometimes I would be sitting on things and I'm like, I have it in my head. I just need it in my hands. Like, and I'm the type of person, if I look at a blank screen like a Google Doc, I'll be like, oh my gosh.
Right? I don't
Like,
know why that's like I just need somebody to start it for me. I can
start
finish
it.
it.
Yes, start it. Here's what I'm trying to say. Just give me something that I can at least, get 80% there and then I can, tweak it to 20%. So yeah,
Yeah, so
it's a
good.
blessing.
So good. Plus, you were saying that you have a child. So with your child, I'm sure you don't have all the time in the world. And I homeschool. So I am literally using ChatGPT to do all the things that I don't have time for. Meal
Yes.
planning, like how
Yes.
do I do this? How do I do that? Because I don't have time because I just want my time to be what I want it to be, right? Like the freedom that I have with my time and my money are like, sorry, I've got you know, kids.
Yes. Yes.
Like are like bar none. Like I want that time with them and to do the things that I want to do with them, right? So Friday we went on a field trip and we live in California. And we went to this gold mining thing. And it was
Ooh.
so cool because I got to on the way home I'm creating a course and I was like just dictating in words to my VA who was then compiling it all, putting in chat GPT, making it all organized. And I created an entire course on the way home from just like I was still with my kids. I was still perfectly present. And as it came to me, I could just do that because ChatGPT exists. What a time to be alive, right?
What a time to be alive. Yes. Yes,
Love
absolutely. And
it.
I do the same thing. Like you talked about the meal prep. I put my husband on with the meal prep because
Thank
we're
you.
pescatarian. So we already have a
Mm,
limited diet of what things that we can eat. And so we're tired of doing salmon every week. So we go to chat and we're like, hey, we need a menu, do the grocery list for us so that we can just be able to easily go and order our stuff. I've used it for even difficult conversations that I've needed to have with people. I'm like, hey, here's how I feel. Here's how I want things to look like. Help me be able to organize this so I can have an effective conversation. So, even things like that, where my past would have been like kind of sitting on it, still mulling over it. Oh, is it this? Is it that? I can literally just be like, okay, here's what needs to happen and move. So, like you said, it is a time, what a time to be alive, to be able to have the tools to move faster, not to replace, not to be a crutch, but the things that are kind of sitting in the back of your head, just get them out. And I think with our calling and what we're meant to do on earth, getting the things out is important. We don't want to go to the grave with all the ideas sitting inside
yep.
of us because we didn't have time to do them. That's a waste. So,
I was just about to say that. Like the obedience that we can have because we're not stewing in our own thoughts about it and
yes.
like putting things out and being active on whatever that thing is. It's so much faster because of ChatGPT. And I don't have to like wait
Yeah.
to be like, oh well, I don't know, God. Show me another sign. I don't understand quite. So I'm like, well, let me like, could I do this? What's like one step forward?
One
Guy can
step.
always move a moving train even easier than he can move a parked car. So like, I'm in action, and he's like, oh, redirect. Okay, cool. But at least I'm moving, right? At least now I'm doing the things. So good,
You just
so good.
preached that to me because I was literally that parked car saying, Lord, move the put put my foot on the gas pedal, move the and it's like you just said, you gotta move and he'll redirect. Trust that he'll redirect. I'm so glad you said that to me because that was confirmation again to remind myself of that because I have been the person to be like stuck or stopping feeling like, okay, God, is this it? Is this it? And it's like, yes, it's it. Like, keep going, keep going. Don't use, the theory of waiting on God as a excuse to not move because you're actually afraid. And I'm speaking to myself. You're afraid of the next step, or you want to know everything. You're used to everything being a certain way, and so you say, well, maybe I should just. And it's like he said it 10 times. I mean, do you want lightning to just come right in front of your office to let you know, or are you just going to trust the word that you heard
Yes,
and then
the
trust that
door's
you'll be
open.
redirected, even if in some shape or form you heard it wrong or maybe you went too fast? Trust him to redirect. It's okay.
Yes, yes. Every day
So
he will redirect.
yeah.
He's like, all right, you're moving, you're doing good, but just a little bit this way. All right.
Yeah.
It's like when your kids like are learning to eat, right? And they're putting their food in their mouth and they like miss their face. And you're
Yeah.
like, you did good. You were trying. He's not gonna be mad at you for trying, even if you don't make the mark. You
Yeah.
did good. Let's just
Yeah.
do it a little bit more like this. Keep trying. You're doing good.
Yes, yes. He's merciful, and I
Yes,
and
he
I
is.
thank
Yes, he
him for
is.
that because woo, it can feel so much. You can feel the pressure of the world. The world wants you to get everything right. In the world, you can't miss the mark, right? It's like you gotta be on it, or you gotta get up every day at this time, or you're missing the mark. And it's like that pressure is just so released when you actually know the word and you have relationship. Then you're like, oh, wait a minute, like it is okay
It's
to
okay.
try. It is okay to miss the mark. It is okay to get up and try again, and you don't have to, like, you get new mercies every morning. So
Every
why you still
morning.
worried about yesterday?
Right?
Yeah, it's
So
it's so freeing. I'm thankful to have read the word because, like I said in the beginning, it's different than being religious or growing up in church because that view can be totally different from actually learning the word yourself.
yes.
So,
Yes. So, like, as a woman who's in business and who has a kid,
mhm.
talk to me about how that looks like in your church, because I know how it looks like in my church sometimes.
Yeah. So, in terms of how that looks for me, I mean, in business, of course, when I worked corporate, it was a little bit of it was a balance because I did three things at once. So I did business, job, and having my son here full time. Homeschool kind of loosely because he's not
Yeah.
school aged, but
Yeah.
we did different activities and things. And so for me, it looked, like it was a balancing act. Sometimes I look back and I'm like, how did I do all of this at one time and be able to stay sane with, juggling the responsibilities? But I'm thankful to have had, people in my life who supported me. I would say, I moved to a new area. So a lot of I think I've heard this term before, like a digital disciple. And so a lot of my fuel or feeding came from me tuning into my church at home or, tuning into my communities that I had built before I moved to the Atlanta area. And so I'm thankful to have had support of people who understood what it's like to have multiple things that you're called to be. I'm called to be a wife. I'm called to be a mom. I'm called to be these different things and be able to support and pray with me through that.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of the time, though, and I'll just out myself again, I don't mind. I kind of shut that off for a little bit, and I was creating like this cycle of struggle or hustle or that people weren't there to support me. I don't, I can't even explain what led me to do that. Maybe it's like this superwoman complex that I wanted to have that I can just have it all together. But once I began to like again see how perfection was not what God was calling of me to
Mm.
be, and that I can be vulnerable with the people around me and get the support I need, like the weight just lifted off, right? So I think for me and how it looks is definitely having a village and community where I didn't think that that was necessary before. You know what? It's probably growing up as an only child and having to defend for myself and kind of just being lone wolf in a way that made me feel like I didn't have that community. But little by little, starting to embrace it, it helped me be able to do what I needed to do in order to serve, because that's the big part. And I always tell my family and even my community that they're all a part of what I'm doing. Like, I can't be on this podcast without my husband being at work right now, or my mom helps me sometimes, or my prayer circles that support and pray for me allows me to be able to do things like this. And so it truly is a village. I did not recognize that as much, but now I see how important that is to be able to achieve the purpose, like to not let the purpose down. That's my big thing.
I feel like we're entering this new era of the very dependent woman. Like, screw being independent. I'm not trying to be
Ooh.
independent anymore. Like, I
Oh.
don't want to do this by myself. I
Yeah.
can't do this by myself.
Yeah.
Am I perfectly capable? If I had to, of course I can, because I'm a very capable woman, but I don't want to. Like,
Right.
my husband, he cooks for us. Like, he's very here with the kids. I couldn't homeschool if I didn't have his support. I
Yeah.
couldn't do this business if I didn't have his support.
Yeah.
And some people look at me and they're like, "Oh, she's just like off doing her own thing." No, I'm not. I can't do this without him. I am not.
Yes.
Without Jesus and my husband, I can't do this. Like, I
Yeah.
literally can't do this. So I'm like, could I have done this by myself 5 years ago? Sure. Would I be exhausted and hating life and be mad at everybody? Also, yes. But
Yes.
now I'm very dependent on the people that support me. And because of that, I am happy. I have the fruit of the spirit. I do less. Like, I'm not trying to do it all. I'm not trying to be everybody's version of everything for everybody. I'm just trying to be what God has asked me to do and do what I'm supposed to do in this household. Like, I am
Yep.
completely this very dependent woman. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even like I used to work on cars. I'm like, I don't even want to do that anymore. Babe, can you change my oil? Can you take my car in for me? Like
Yeah.
no. It's this new season of screw the independent woman. I'm not trying to be any of that. Nope.
I
Be
love that.
dependent.
I love that. I tell my husband, like, well, up until probably like the last maybe 2 months, because I've been doing a little bit more like in town traveling, but I hadn't gone to a gas station in like 2 years. Like,
Right?
I
Right?
I and I was perfectly fine with that. I don't want to go. I don't It's so inconvenient, and I know this is like
Yes.
a little irresponsible, and I'm working on it. But I just get in the car and drive. Like, I don't check everything and this and that. I just need to get what my mind is to where I'm going. And
Yes.
so, like, all that stopping gas stuff, I don't do. He does that for me. And he does a lot
Yes.
of other things that keep my mind focused on what my mind should be focused on. So I
Yep.
think, to your point about being dependent, and it's also, understanding people are dependent on me for certain things too. And so it's not this, either or type of thing, it's both.
Yeah.
And when I'm able to do that, I'm able to focus on what I'm truly supposed to be doing, instead of, being the person balancing all the plates, just waiting for one of them to crack. Like, no, here's a plate for you. Here's
Yep.
a plate for you. And allow me to take on the ones and be supernova strong with the ones that I can only do. And I think even delegation with team, I'm sure you
Yes.
see this as well, as you just talked about with your VA. Even with team, it's the same thing in business. Like, who is the person that can really do this stuff so that I can focus my limited brain cells, my limited time, my limited focus on the things that will move the needle that only I can do. Stuff like this that I actually
Yep.
enjoy, talking to people,
Right.
being interviewed. This is
Yes.
better for me than to be going through emails right now.
Yep.
Whereas my assistant, she loves doing that organization stuff. Let her do it, because she is the guru at it. She could do it better than me. I need to be spending time doing this.
Preach. Yes. I have some clients that like to hold on to things. I'm like, you can't.
Yeah,
You're the visionary. Be that visionary. Get out of the weeds. Please get out of the weeds. Get out
exactly.
of the weeds. Because it's not
Yes.
worth it. It's not worth it. It's not It's almost like it's wasting your time in a way because it's wasting your ability to do more for the kingdom if you're doing the things that you're not supposed to be doing. So good.
Yes.
So
Yes.
good.
Woo. Mm-mm-mm. Very good.
So when you talk about like getting these clients with corporate and you guys are out there in the streets doing the hand-to-hand combat, meeting these people, building relationships, having these containers where you're like, "Oh, this person would be good for you. This person would be good for you."
Yep.
XYZ. What is the number one thing that you would tell a new business owner that they not new business owner, a business owner that's bringing on a corporate client new to that part, like this new
Yep.
entity of their business, what would you tell them the number one thing they need to do is? Would it be make sure your offer aligns or would it be something else?
Yeah. I think the number one thing that you need to do is start having conversations. That's what I would say. Because really, when you do that, everything else can be more well informed. So even if you're not necessarily going to sell something, like start just getting that market research, start getting in the rooms, hearing the conversations, hearing the terminology, the language, what the needs are, and getting an understanding of what the corporate landscape looks like. So that way, when you're going to create your offers, when you're getting your business set up, when you're figuring out who the target clients are, the industries, if you are going to be industry specific, you have a good understanding of what the playing field looks like. I think that's the first thing, especially if you're going at it alone, that would benefit you the most is to start having those conversations. So that could look like there are several associations that corporations or corporate leaders attend, conferences that they attend. There are several organizations that might have chapters in your local city that you could tap into. So things like depending on what size business, the Chamber of Commerce could be a good one because oftentimes there are small to medium businesses that could need your services that are a part of those. But even broader associations for HR professionals may be good for people who do, transformational work like us. Usually lands in leadership development or human resource services. And so connecting with organizations where those professionals are can also be very valid or very beneficial to you getting into this space and meeting contacts, but also learning the language. So immersing yourself in that, I feel, is going to benefit you in the long haul before you even start to talk about creating offers and all of that.
So good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really where it starts with any offer, though, really. Like, know the
Yeah.
language, listen to what they're saying, do the market research, find out who needs what. Can you do that? And then
Yep.
starting there. That's so good.
Yeah. So see, it really is the same that you've done in the past. I think the major thing that I hear sometimes is that, people feel like they need to, well, I need to get the pieces in place, I need to get the business set up, or, what is that translation that I need to have? I work with entrepreneurs to help them make more money. Well, I'm not going to go inside of organizations and show them how to become an entrepreneur. No, you're not. But when you really think about it, what is it that you're truly doing with the entrepreneurs that you're working with? Maybe you're teaching them how to sell better. Maybe you're teaching them branding skills. Maybe you're teaching them, some other high level leadership skill that's helping them be more successful. Okay, so don't corporate leaders need to know, or don't salespeople inside organizations need to know how to sell better too? It's not necessarily about the outcome that you need to focus on. Oh, growing your business. It's more so on the skill set. These skill sets are going to help you sell better. Doesn't matter if you're in your own business, trying to create six-figure months or whatever the case may be, or if you're inside of an organization and you have a multi-million dollar quota and you need to hit it. It's likely going to be very similar skill sets. It's just all about the context in which you are helping and guide them to that end result.
I love that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think that we don't market the soft skills as much as we market the hard skills. Like, this is what I'm going to get you. You're going to get $1,500 months or whatever it is, right?
Yes.
But really, it's I'm going to change how you are connecting with yourself and like why it makes you a better person for this. If you're a healthier person, then you get this. When I worked for one of the corporations that I worked with, they literally was like, you will get paid $100 a month or $200 a month or whatever it was extra if you connect your Fitbit and we can see that you've been trying to be healthy for our company. Or
Yeah.
if you're giving, we will match your giving, your financial contributions to any philanthropic place of your choice, including your church. We will match it because we enjoy people that are philanthropic, that are giving. So these principles and these not just skill sets, but these values that they
Mhm.
hold as their business, they want to enforce in their people, and so they do it through different ways. But if I teach them that, if I come in as a corporate contract for a leadership coach or whatever skill you have to teach, I think that could be so valuable for some of these corporations. Like I
Yeah.
it's not that I didn't think about that, but I don't think that most people think about that because they just don't think about that. It's something that they corporations need to have as well. So good.
Yeah. And I love how you gave that wellness example that just really rang a bell because it made me think about a previous client that's in mindfulness and wellness. And so she actually got a contract to do like her mindfulness workshop inside of Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy. They're a
Mm.
combined company. And she does things like breathing techniques and, shows people how to do different things to manage stress and burnout, right? And you may think like, oh, like you said, soft skills are kind of things that are not necessarily tied to the bottom line. But what you said about health, like I hope people caught that because that is so important. Organizations recognize that they don't need to just teach people how to do the skills. They really need to tap into some of the inner work that's happening so that they can show up and be able to produce. And so I've seen it, firsthand from clients who've worked in this space. But like that health piece is very important. And if you can package what you do as a contributor to healthy employees that then produce X, Y, and Z results, they're going to be bought into that. That's why they get the contracts with Fitbit, with Calm, with all these other companies to do these different things. Those are contracts, right? They're companies just like you and I. They've positioned themselves as a corporate partner that can help get better results for their employees. We just need to follow the same textbook process of packaging up our services as getting, them that result to the end. So that health and wellness is important. And I wanted to call that out for people who may be saying, well, I don't necessarily work in the business context. I do more of like softer things, or I really help people with mindset or things of that nature. That is like the moneymaker because really, if your mind is cluttered, how can your hands move? Right? You can have
Yes.
all the skill sets and processes, but if you got webs upon webs of things going on in your mind, it goes nowhere. And companies recognize that even more now than they did in the past. So this is prime time for people who are in that space to start tapping into some contracts.
And I really feel like a lot of contracts and like corporations are leaning more into the woo space, if you will. So like the
Hmm.
breathing techniques, like you're talking about,
Yep.
meditation, even being open to the Holy Spirit as a way to leverage how to do better in business, right?
Yes.
So I've got this thing called the Holy Spirit Blueprint where we bring in the Holy Spirit, but it's also let's talk about your sales strategy, let's talk about your operation strategy, let's talk about your marketing strategy, but we're filtering it through. All right, you don't know, let's ask Holy Spirit, what is Holy Spirit saying? I'm hearing
Mm-hmm.
this, are you hearing that? Let's figure out what that offer is going to be. And when we can bring those to corporations, it's like bringing in God in a way that they've never even thought that God could be utilized or um leveraged, if you will, but not like using God, but like entering him into every facet of our business and our lives and how he actually wants to be. He wants to be part of everything. So I
Yes.
love that. I love that.
Yeah. Ooh, that's so good. I could see you in these corporations doing
Let's go,
exactly what you
girl.
said.
Let's get me in there.
Yes. Good, good.
Okay, so like when you first came to help people with getting corporate contracts, what was
Mhm.
the thing that was the hardest for these small businesses to overcome? What was that? Was it a mindset thing?
Oh man, so many different things. So I think one of the first things that I hear that's very interesting, especially for people who have created a lot of success, is like, oh, like you said, it's mindset. And it's also the time to actually, take the actions because they have a successful business that they're already running. So getting them to be like, okay, now you got to shift some time to this is also something. But I want to talk about the mindset first because it's so interesting. Like I've talked to people who have grown, $1 million businesses, and I've been like, well, what's stopping you from getting into corporate? And I remember one person in particular telling me, like, I know I have these contacts all around and I could easily, send an email. Like I have the idea, but I get stopped when I get in my head about it and thinking, oh, well,
Mm.
what if they don't respond? Or what if this and what if that? Or, my focus gets diverted to something else and then it kind of gets pushed in the back burner. And so what I find is that, you know, I'm here and I'm the bridge to this to help people who feel like,
Oh, that's so
okay, how do I get the time to be able to do this correctly, the process, and get someone who can support me through where I might be trying to stop myself because I'm overthinking or because, I have
yes.
different things I'm focused on, or I'm just not even leveraging the network that I have. I just recently talked about this on my Facebook last week. I was talking about, corporate leads are literally all around you. I've done like challenges with people and given them these different activities. They have revived opportunities from people that they just never even thought about tapping on. So we all have the opportunities circling around us, but it's about how do we awaken to where they are and then be able to be
Mm.
strategic about how to uncover and turn it into something. So I would say the combination between the mindset of getting out of your head, not thinking it's an overcomplicated process, and then giving a simplified way to leverage your time so that you are making quality contacts and moving the needle forward. So I would say both I see very, very often.
So what's the first step? Would you say like put out an email, put out a post, get in the DMs? Sometimes I see those DMs on LinkedIn and I'm just like, ugh, don't even.
Yes, yes, yes. So I would say the first step for the person who already like, has has a successful business, like you've built up network and contacts, or maybe you've been in corporate before, like you're not new to your expertise. So you have a network, right? I would say the first thing to do is to, depend upon where you're most active. I do like people to get on LinkedIn, but obviously if you don't really have a network there, it's going to be a little difficult to like jump out with a post there. But if you do have people that are active, I would say, share what it is that you're doing now. I work with corporations. I know that you all have known me as this, but did you know we also work in corporations to be able to do similar results for your employees? That would be something great to kind of let the network know what it is that you're doing. But as you talked about the DMs, that strategy works very well. But the thing about it is, most people lead with what they have to sell and they're pitching. I actually do not recommend that people pitch anyone anything in their first time meeting them. It just
Mm.
really doesn't make sense to me. I think a lot of people are like, I need to get my pitch together. And I'm like, okay, have you met the right person? Have you identified a need? Like I have a whole, pitching exit list before you even should think about pitching an offer. And I'm like, did any of that happen? No, I'm just going to send it. Okay, well, that's why most people's emails get unread or LinkedIn DMs get unread, because really your first piece of interaction or your first point of interaction with the lead is a conversation. You should be inviting them to talk with you to learn more about them and how you can make them the hero, which is one of my favorite taglines. How do I make you the hero? That's what corporations or corporate leaders need. People who can actually produce results, that care about the vision and the process for what they're doing in the organization, and not just trying to sell them the next thing. So yes, if you hit them with, hey, are you looking for X, Y, and Z, and here's what I do, and da 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 da, no. But the emails that I find that get the most responses and the DMs that get the most responses is, hey, I see that we're connected in this, we're shared in this similar industry. I am, a expert in X, Y, and Z, or I'm a speaker on this. I would love to be able to chat with you more about how this particular topic plays out in your company and see if there's an opportunity where I can support your initiatives. Like that's chef's kiss right there, because most
Right?
people don't get an invitation to talk about them. What they get an invitation to is to buy the next thing. So even as we're thinking about with individuals, which one do you resonate with? We all get those DMs, but if somebody really took the time to look into what you were doing, saw a point
Yes.
of commonality, and then said, let's have a conversation, because even from what I'm seeing, that doesn't mean that I necessarily know everything that's going on behind the scenes to be able to develop a pitch for you. I just want to have a conversation. Like, and then if that leads to somewhere, which typically if a corporate leader gets on a call with you, it's because they see some need for what it is that you do, whether it is now or at a later stage. Then that's when you can put together a pitch. So it's a process to kind of slow yourself down a little bit, be open to
Mm.
having a conversation instead of feeling like you need to have an offer together. You need to have a solid pitch together. And that's when you can go and start reaching out to corporations. Just start with the conversation and just stand in your expertise. Be willing to hear what's going on their end and then craft a solution based on that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I
So you
love
could do
that.
that on LinkedIn if you have a network of people that you could like text. Like I was giving all types of crazy stuff for my people to do in the challenge. I was like, text these people, you got a friend or you got an old coworker, text them and let them know what's up, have a conversation with them. And it was working because it's warm people in your network that want to help you and they actually do have some connection to the places that you're looking to get inside of. And so that to me, starting with your immediate network is the best way to do it. And I've leveraged it myself. Like contacts, I'll be like, hey, it's Women History Month. I am booking my calendar now for talks with employee resource groups at corporations. Do you guys know anybody who's X, Y, and Z? And I've been connected to people. So it works.
You're just like, this is so simple. You guys are making it overly complicated. Just do this, okay? Like, be a
Yeah.
human being first. Like, get to
Yes.
know them first. This is a date. This is not a one night stand. Like, let's do
Yes.
this.
Yeah, let's do it, and I get it. Like all the other things come up, it's more of, and would say this in business, and I've said this to my one of my friends last week. I was like, the hardest thing in business is not about like the hand things that you do, like the task. It's really this. Like
Yes.
mastering this is the hardest thing to do. Just like I told you, the lady told me that ran the $1 million business. She was like, I know I could send an email. I just get all these thoughts in my head. So it's not that we even need more strategy, and this gets back to the AI stuff. We don't need more tactics and all of that. Like most people are smart enough to figure, something out to at least get started. But why haven't you got started yet? Because it's
Hmm.
all up here. And
Yep.
that's where people like me, people like you, help folks to be able to thrive beyond what the skills and tactics could ever do.
Yes. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Okay. Well, I feel like we have talked about all sorts of things today, and it's been
Yeah.
so good. And if they want to learn more about the email that you were just talking about and how to talk to people, I have something that you were talking about, your free email. Talk to me about that real quick.
Yes. So, because I love to bless anyone who gets to tune in to me via other folks' platform, I always have a gift. So, since you are in Jeanette's community and listening to this amazing podcast, I have a gift for you. I have an email framework that actually led to a $154,000 contract and still works with my clients today. And I'm giving you that framework in a PDF document that you can literally follow, change out a few things that are consistent to you, your brand, and the things that you offer, and send it out today. So, as easy as I just made this sound as we were talking, I just made it even easier for you. I just gave you the framework that I have used to close contracts in my career and still works today. And that is the freebie that you'll be able to download for being a member, an engaged member of Jeanette's community. If you made it to the end of this podcast, then you just struck gold. So that is what I
Yes.
have for you today.
And if you ever want to work with her, you can find her over on LinkedIn, or
Yep.
you can go to kirstynjallen.com/WWK. I put those in the chat and they'll also be in the show notes. If there's one thing you want to leave all of our listeners with, they're at that 250K mark, struggling to get to 7 figures, and they just can't get their mind over getting a corporate contract. What would you give them? What's your biggest takeaway for them?
My biggest takeaway is take just take the action. Like, don't think about anything else. Whatever just came up in your mind, whatever is stopping you, decide today that you're going to do it. I think for me, my biggest lesson has been just learning to do it anyway, despite the fear, despite the confusion. I may not have it all together. I don't have all the pieces together. But as we talked about way, way early on, A moving train is the only thing that can be redirected. So start now. Decide, you know what, I'm just going to do it. Yep, all these other things, you can continue to circle around and do your thing, but I'm moving here and I'm just going to do it. Send the email, send the text, make the ask. What's the worst that can happen? So, as cliche as Nike has made it, just do it. That's it. I
Yes,
mean, that's it. Despite everything, don't try to journal it out. Don't try to talk it out and figure it out. You got a blueprint from listening here today. Take the next action right now.
just do it. So good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for just blessing this podcast with your wisdom, with your insights, and with your personality. You're just so fun to talk to. So thank
Yes,
you so
you
much
are
for being
too.
on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invitation. I enjoyed it. And I pray that everyone who listens to this got blessed by it. And don't let this just sit in your ear and in your mind. Move the
Yes.
information, move it.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any questions, everything will be in the show notes, and you can always reach out to me or her on LinkedIn or me on Instagram or wherever you know me at. And we will love to talk to you guys all about corporate contracts with her and anything else. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.